Remember when Hollywood looked at Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers and thought, what if we make Kung Fu kangaroos? Well, that's exactly what happened with Warriors of Virtue. I'm Nostradamus, and this is the Fan Chamber Podcast where we talk about movies, TV shows, and such. And I'm starting with Warriors of Virtue, a film that is very special to me. I cherish it ever since I was a kid, and I feel more people should see it, acknowledge it, and appreciate the awesomeness that is Kung Fu Kangaroos. That rhymed. Let's start off with a quick movie breakdown. The film follows Ryan, a kid with a leg disability who struggles to fit in at school. After a strange accident, he's transported to the mystical world of Tao, where he discovers his leg works normally. There he meets the Warriors of Virtue, five martial arts kangaroos who represent different elements and virtues, and helps them stop the evil Lord Komodo, I love him, from taking over both Tao and Earth. At its core, the movie is really about self-confidence, accepting who you are, and overcoming limitations. But on screen, visually, it's a martial arts spectacle. The movie cost a fortune. The budget was around $56 million, which was massive for a fantasy movie featuring martial arts kangaroos in 1997. Unfortunately, it only made around $6 million at the box office, making it a huge flop. And I was one of those people who went to the movies to go see it. I begged my parents to do this, and thankfully, they took me. But how does a movie with Kung Fu kangaroos and $56 million budget fail this badly? I ask myself that till this day. A more interesting fact is, it was created by four surgeons, not filmmakers, not writers, not authors, four surgeons. The Law brothers were actually doctors and surgeons who came up with the idea and financed much of the project through family resources. The original goal was to launch a multimedia franchise with toys and merchandise, a la Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers. That's probably one of the wildest movie origin stories ever. It was just four freaking surgeons. Can you imagine them in the doctor's table or like doing a surgery and they're like just, working on someone's organs, and one just brings out, hey, you know what? What about fighting kangaroos? Yeah, I think that'll work. It'll be like the Ninja Turtles, right? And we could make mad money. Doctor, there's intense internal bleeding happening right now. Now, the kangaroos were chosen for a funny reason. The creators chose kangaroos because they naturally stand upright and kick. They felt martial arts would look more believable with kangaroos than with four-legged animals. When you think about it, they're not wrong. There's a lot of times we've seen kangaroos being used as fighters, say in, I believe, Tekken. But what my memory really goes to is Rue in the Streets of Rage 3 video game. It was a fighting kangaroo right there. So the concept of kangaroos doing martial arts is not that far off, and should be seen as a really, really awesome idea and image. Now, such a big idea and image that it grabbed the attention of a big deal director. The film was directed by Ronnie Yu, who later directed the horror crossover Freddy vs. Jason and the martial arts epic Fearless. How could this movie lose? This wasn't some low budget nobody project. They had a real talent involved, and Ronnie Yu showed his talent with this movie. Now, I've never seen any movie before or after Warriors of Virtue that did this stylized slow motionless blurriness kind of feel that when I first saw it, I wish it did not look like that, but amazed me visually. And to this day, I still love the look of it. This slow motion, blurry, dreamy kind of look almost gave it its own unique style. Warriors of Virtue is actually an international movie. There was three types of crews on there. They filmed it all in Beijing because he was able to make the set there, and three types of different languages. But matter of fact, here's an interview where Ronnie Yu speaks about his time directing and communicating with the three crew.
I had to speak three different language every day on set.
Well,
Because
lucky you that you can do it.
I don't know how I did it, but because we had to shot it in Beijing, in China, because of economic factor. Only in China I can build 18 sets that I can afford to build 18 sets, and so I have to bring people from Los Angeles or the crew. I have to build like 80 people, and then we have to hire like 200 local from China, and then another 60 from Hong Kong. So every day when I want to give an instruction, first I speak in English, so all the LA crew understand what I want, and I speak in Mandarin so that the Chinese knows, and I speak the Cantonese so that the Hong Kong crew knows what I want. So it's like constantly every day. Sometimes I get mixed up.
Ronnie Yu's biggest difficulty was directing the actors in the heavy animatronic suits. They say they had like 20 technicians controlling a single kangaroo's facial expression and body movement, and the only way to communicate through them was a wireless communication, whether it was like phone or walkie-talkie or something like that. I'm sorry if I don't know exactly, but it was incredibly frustrating at first. But then he got the Australian crew to come up with some new kind of way to get across the problem, and everything else was smooth sailing after that. But despite the difficulties, you credited the film to teach him how to deal with animatronics, because just a year later, he went on to make Bride of Chucky. So that really helped out his process in creating that movie because of Warriors of Virtue. Despite the fighting kangaroos, Lord Komodo was the best part of this movie. Many fans agree that Angus Macfadyen's over-the-top performance as Lord Komodo is one of the most memorable things about this movie. He's basically chewing scenery every moment he's on screen. Here's Angus Macfadyen talking about just going over the top and why.
Fear is that you don't go far enough with something like that, because you've got to make it as big as possible, Hey, partly because it's a children's film, and therefore if you're telling a fairy tale, I remember reading all of those stories about Hansel and Gretel and the Grimm's fairy tales where monsters would come out of the forest and all of that. So you've got to fill that out, with your imagination.
Angus also talks about how behind the scenes he found the film's Taoist themes to be a refreshing relief from the standard Hollywood good versus evil tropes.
Chinese philosophy is such a it's such a relief, really, because we live in a world where we put of opposites, where we put good bad here and good there, and they live in a world where everything is a cycle, and good and evil, though they do exist, are necessary in the world, and that good and evil, as the line says in the film, the only demons in this world are in our own hearts, and that is where all of our battles must be fought. And that's a line from Gandhi, and one has to recognize the evil within oneself and shine, and the only way you can do that is shine the light of goodness on it, and then they will be harmonized, and you can use that darkness whenever you want. You can never get rid of it because we're human beings; it's part of us. But so this is the Taoist philosophy, which is it's wonderful.
Macfadyen's Komodo was so iconic for anybody who sees this movie, and I don't care if you're someone who watched it and feel it is a bad movie, one of the worst movies, or so forth and so forth. But his Lord Komodo entertained me so much till this day, because nothing makes a hero more than the villain, and Lord Komodo was that, a villain, flamboyant, cocky, powerful, showy, theatrical, and a great fighter. The final fight between the Ruse and Angus Macfadyen's Lord Komodo is one of the coolest cinematic fight scenes, in my opinion, and I feel that everybody else should think so. As a child watching this movie, I just believed I was watching a live action anime, because at that time period Japanimation was coming into effect and we were seeing such things like Dragon Ball and such. So when I saw this, and no, video games, yes, because I remember I was a big King of Fighter fan, and you know, power waves on the floor, and you go to the movies and you see this martial arts kangaroo fighting against this one powerful, flamboyant, very evil, very showy guy, and he's doing power waves on the ground as well, and they're pulling that off, and you're just being wowed over the spectacle that's happening. Now, I don't know how my parents felt about this, but for me, till this day, I can watch that and I get very, very giddy and happy because it is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. A fun fact, but not so proud fact, I think I heard Warriors come out and play from this movie first before I knew of his origin from the movie The Warriors. So when I think about Warriors come out and play, I don't think about The Warriors. My image is Lord Komodo taunting the Ruse before their final fight at the end of Warriors of Virtue.
Warriors, come out and play!
Now, let's get to the heroes. The Warriors of Virtue themselves, the Ruse. One thing that makes the Warriors memorable is that they aren't just fighters. They each embody one of the 5 elements and one of the 5 Confucian virtues. Each Rue has a distinct personality that complements their fighting style. We'll start off with Young, the warrior of water, virtue of benevolence, which is compassion. His personality is the leader of the warriors, but at the start of the film, he's carrying a heavy burden. He isolates himself after accidentally causing the death of Alicia's brother, believing he no longer deserves to lead. He represents the idea that true leaders aren't perfect. They accept responsibility and keep moving forward. His fighting style is calm and defensive. He uses flowing movements like water and relies on techniques instead of aggression. Young's journey is about forgiveness. Young may actually have one of the strongest character arcs in the movie. He's essentially dealing with survivor's guilt. And now from a warrior of compassion to a warrior of wisdom, but a very hot head, Chi, warrior fire. Chi is impulsive, loud, energetic, and often the first to charge into battle. He's basically the hothead of the group. However, despite representing fire, his virtue is wisdom, suggesting that true wisdom comes from learning to control passion rather than eliminating it. His fighting styles is fast kicks, aggressive offense, and acrobatics. But a fun fact, Chi provides much of the comic relief during action scenes while still being a capable fighter. Now, I don't know if you're noticing or following along, but you can imagine already. Young being of water, his color is blue, and Chi being of fire, his color is red. Young, blue, the leader, just like Leonardo and Ninja Turtles. Chi, red, the hothead, just like Raphael in Ninja Turtles. Now Lai is the warrior of wood, and his virtue, order. As you can imagine, his color is green. His personality is disciplined soldier. He believes in teamwork, structure, and following the mission. If Yun is the heart, Lai is the backbone. His fighting style is balanced, defensive, and very team-oriented. His wood represents growth and stability. Lai is usually the one keeping everyone focused. Now, unlike the Ninja Turtles, Warrior's virtue actually consists of one female. Now, okay, let me take that back. The Ninja Turtles had a female if you count the Saban series, Ninja Turtles, The Next Mutation, where they added a female turtle called Venus. But most do not like to refer to that show at all. Now, I grew up with that show, and I refer to her as being someone that existed. Now, as a grown-up, when I rewatched that show, no, The Next Mutation was not all that. But we're not going into that right now. If you would like me to go into that, well, let me know in the future, in the comments, and so forth. But warriors of virtue have a female. Her name is Sun. She is the warrior of earth, and her virtue is of loyalty. Sun is dependable and grounded. She rarely lets emotions cloud her judgment. She'll stand beside her teammates no matter what. So that means she's 100% stands on business. Her fighting style is powerful strikes, strong defense, and doesn't rely on speed. Now, Earth symbolism represents strength, reliability, and endurance. She anchors the groups emotionally and physically. Now, when you think Earth, you think that she would like control the grounds and whatnot, which, from my memory, and I've seen this movie a lot of times, but I just remember her throwing flowers at people, flower petals and such. So, I guess that's her thing. But she ain't no earthbender like Toph from The Last Airbender. Our next warrior is Yeet. And I'm not talking about freaking Jey Uso's Yeet. No, Yeet. Y-E-E. The warrior of metal and the virtue of righteousness. Yi is arguably the coolest Ru. He barely speaks throughout the entire movie. Instead, he lets his actions speak for him. He's calm, mysterious, disciplined, and almost samurai-like. His fighting style is very precise, efficient, and minimal wasted movements. At the end of the movie, after Ryan sacrifices himself, Yi speaks for the first time in years to thank him. It's a surprisingly emotional payoff because everyone knows how significant it is when Yi finally breaks his silence. The warriors aren't simply the 5 elements. They're designed so that each member represents a different way of living. Together, they represent balance rather than individual power. None of them is portrayed as the strongest because each depend on the others, reflecting the film's Taoist-inspired philosophy. Now, one angle worth exploring is whether each Ru fully develops or feels fully developed. Unlike teams and franchises such as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or the Power Rangers, the Warriors don't exactly all receive equal screen time. Young carries most of the emotional story. He's basically the main focus of all the stuff, dealing with, killing someone and the guilt of killing someone when they're not supposed to be killing. While Yi's silence makes him memorable despite limited dialogue. Lai, Chi, and Sun each have recognizable personalities, but the film leaves room for audiences to imagine more about them. Actually, I wish we explored them even deeper. And imagine if they had gone on to make more, right? Even if it just created like an animated series or a freaking series period. Unfortunately, Warriors of Virtue did get a sequel, but we don't talk about that sequel. The Rus are not even Rus anymore. They're just somehow transformed into human beings. Don't ask me, I don't remember. I just remember the movie was more focused on, once again, a child. No, not even a child, a teenager. And this time, a teenage Ryan Jeffers, who is played by a completely different actor. And, for some reason, becomes a martial arts expert and is the main focus of the sequel movie. Similar to Forbidden Kingdom with Jet Li and Jackie Chan. Despite me saying not to mention this movie so much and to refer to it and it doesn't exist, we have to acknowledge the fact that the movie does have a tragic story behind it. Kevin Smith was in this movie as the villain. Now, it's not Kevin Smith, the filmmaker. No. Kevin Smith, the New Zealand actor best known for playing Ares, the god of war, and Xena, warrior princess, Hercules, the legendary journey, and young Hercules, became one of New Zealand's biggest television stars by the late 1990s. Smith played Dogon in the sequels as the sequel's primary villain. One criticism often made by fans is that Dogon doesn't have the same memorable presence as Lord Komodo, which he didn't. Even so, Smith gives the role charisma and gravitas that help elevate the material, pretty much like Ares. So if anything, when I watched Warriors of Virtue 2, I was kind of, happy to see him in it. I was like, oh, look, it's Ares from one of my favorite TV shows. He was like Angus McFadden in the first Warriors of Virtue, the standout star and the one who really held it all together. Sadly, it was his final film. He had already completed filming his scenes when an accident happened. He did not die while camera was rolling on the movie, but on February 6, 2002, after finishing working on Warriors of Virtue 2, Smith was waiting for transportation back to his hotel. While waiting, he wandered around the China Central Television studio lot and climbed a prop tower that had been built for another production. The structure wasn't intended to be climbed. He lost his footing and fell roughly 3 stories onto concrete, suffering severe head injuries. He was rushed to a local hospital, then transferred to Beijing, where he fell into a coma. After spending about 10 days on life support, he died on February 15, 2002, at just 38 years old, without regaining consciousness. He had a huge career ahead of him. One of the saddest part of the story is what came next. Smith already lined up his first major Hollywood film, Tears of the Sun, starring Bruce Willis. He was preparing to attend Navy SEAL style training for the role after returning home from China. His death ended what many believe would have been a successful transition from television to Hollywood features. At the end of Warriors Virtue 2, they did dedicate the movie to him, for our friend Kevin, who represented the best of every virtue. I guess I would say it is worth watching just for the fact of Kevin Smith, and you know, to see his work and to acknowledge it and to give it respect. And despite whatever I think of Warriors Versus 2, it's impossible to watch it without thinking about Kevin Todd Smith. This wasn't just another actor in a direct to video sequel. He was one of New Zealand's biggest stars, known worldwide as Ares from Xena. He had just wrapped filming, was on the verge of breaking into Hollywood, and then a completely unrelated accident on another film set took his life. That ending dedication for our friend Kevin hits a lot harder once you know this full story. It's one of those real life tragedies that gives the film a significance far beyond its reputation as a sequel. Now, because Warriors of Virtue 2 did not really expand and give us everything we wanted from, well, the Warriors of Virtue, we create what might have been peak Warriors of Virtue era in the movie. And I wish we had something like that. Even a prequel would have been fantastic of Warriors of Virtue. You know, what was the world like? What confrontations, what adventures, what bouts did they have before Komodo came through? Or let's go back to that time of the great battle and where Young ended up killing Alicia's brother. You know, like something like that would have been really good. Again, it could have gone down in any format: a comic book, a video game, an anime. I think Warriors of Virtue will have a great resurgence. There's a fan base. I'm one of them. I'm trying to create even a bigger fan base. If anybody grew up with this and just took it and was like, all right, let's redo this in another medium. I mean, a comic book would have been fantastic. Oh, you know what? Let me go back. Let's discuss Yi. Yi is, as I mentioned, a memorable character. He's the warrior of metal. He doesn't speak. He's all body language. And you know what's great? That before becoming famous for films like The Shape of Water, actor Doug Jones performed as Yi, the warrior of metal. Doug Jones is fantastic body actor. He's done a lot of great characters. He even was the body for like Silver Surfer in the second Fantastic Four movie, not the voice, but he was that one character. Oh, I forgot his name in Hellboy, the character that was like from The Shape of Water. So Doug Jones is a fantastic body actor. No wonder Yi was very loved by everyone who sees the movie, because Doug Jones was behind it. Doug Jones is Yi, and he knows how to act with his body. Now, was this movie ahead of its time? I think so. I've seen other accounts, other people talking about this movie saying it's not that good, it's very bad, it's such and such. I don't think so. I think it's weird. It was ahead of its time. No one really appreciated it at that time. I sure did. It would have fared today, I believe. I think if you made that today, people will appreciate it. People see it today is what I want to know. If you saw this movie today, would you love it and appreciate it like I did in the 90s? Have you seen this movie? And if you haven't, now you can. You see, as I was growing up, the only access to this movie was a VHS, and it was full screen, right? That's it. This movie didn't really play much on TV. It didn't play much on cable. I don't think so, not that I remember. But all I had was this one VHS. And I was a fan of widescreen movies. So if anything was widescreen, I would get it. I remember widescreen wasn't an option back then. It was just VHS full screen. You know, it just whatever covers that TV. But once widescreen became an option, I would search high and low for widescreens. Then came DVDs. And guess what? Warriors of Virtue never got a DVD release. Then came Blu-rays. Warriors of Virtue never got a Blu-ray release. I've never seen this movie in its full aspect ratio other than in theaters. And then out of the blue, over the last 2 years, I think, the movie appeared on streaming service in its official aspect ratio. I finally got to see Warriors of Virtue in widescreen, and it was glorious. Still not accessible, still not a physical copy. At least here in the States, I managed to find a Warriors of Virtue Blu-ray from like Germany, I believe. So now I have a physical copy of Blu-ray of Warriors of Virtue, but that's not enough. I want someone like Arrow Film or Shout Factory or someone to make a beautiful special edition steelbook of Warriors of Virtue. I think there's a niche cult following for this movie. I'm one of them, and I need to know, are you too? You can watch Warriors of Virtue for free on Tubi and I think Roku as well. So you can watch, I just looked it up right now. You can watch Warriors of Virtue on Amazon Prime Video, I believe for free. Tubi is there for free. And I believe that's it. Just those two places, which for me, I'm a collector of digital movies. So I'm still waiting for Fandango at Home, which used to be Vudu, to make it an option so I can add it to my library. You know? Unfortunately, when you watch it for free, you gotta deal with freaking advertisements. Unless you have a specific browser that lets you skip advertisements. However it is, I highly recommend you watch Warriors of Virtue. Or if you seen Warriors of Virtue and haven't for a long time, please watch it again. I've watched it on my Enter the Fan Chamber streams with my audiences, and it's been a while, so I know I'm gonna do it again because I feel like that's something that's so special to me. How special is it? There was this novelty store. It's not around anymore, and I don't remember what it was called, but there was this novelty store, and it sold, you know, old toys and just knickknacks and little funny stuff. Such things still exist now, but this one had the entire Warriors of Virtue action figure set for $3 each. And yes, you bet your damn ass I went and gathered all of them. I, to this day, still have all of them. If you watch old videos from my old room, there's a whole wall that were just displayed on a whole wall right there, Warriors of Virtue, and I'm proud of those damn action figures. Now, one of them I had to rebuy again, I think, but one of them accidentally was shot with a pellet gun or something, so it pierced through, and then, you know, when action figures, the plastic pierced through, then the whole background starts, you know, aging, it turns yellow, and I'm not very proud of it. But regardless, you're looking at a guy who has the entire Warriors of Virtue action figure set. Now, if I see that this stuff costs a lot of money, you damn bet your dollar that I'm gonna sell them. But I have them, they're somewhere in a box, and yeah, I got them from $3 each. I forgot how many figures there are, but I got the entire set. I'm sure that's what they wanted when they made this movie. They wanted to, you know, capitalize on merchandise. I didn't see it when I was a kid, and if I did, hell yeah, I would have tried to get my parents to get me the entire set. But when you're grown up and you finally have money and you finally can make your own damn decisions, you damn right I got the entire Warriors of Virtue set for $3 each. This movie belonged in that era of 90s. You know, we had the Turtles, we had Power Rangers, Kung Fu was in, they were just throwing Kung Fu at kids, and this was up there. Power Rangers, Ninja Turtles, VR Troopers, Mystic Knights of Tir Nog, you name it, the fucking tattooed teenage aliens from outer space or whatever, from Beverly Hills, whatever that was called, Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad, Warriors of Virtue fit in. The Kung Fu Kangaroos, how is that not cool? As a kid, even as a grown up, is cool. I guess because I was a kid when I saw this, I thought it was freaking fantastic, and it still is. But maybe as a grown up, it's just stupid. Which I have to say, come on, man. How lame and stuck up do you have to be to not consider that to be really cool? At the end, the real message of the movie is, under all the weird kangaroo action, the movie is really about Ryan learning that his disability doesn't define him. You know, his leg in the real world, I guess, was, he felt like it was holding him back, but it wasn't. Once he went to the world of Tao, he didn't have this disability. He was free to do whatever and blah, blah. But that's also a concept like I don't understand, and I just take it for what it is. I don't know if he actually went to that world and it was all a dream. No, if he actually went to the world or it was all a dream. Because he fell down into the, I don't know, the swirly sewer thing, whatever. He fell down into the water, woke up in Tao. And then when he, quote unquote, spoiler alert, died in Tao, he came back to before he fell in there and made that decision. So I really don't know what happened, but in the end, I really don't care. I just wanted to see the Warriors kicking ass, taking names, and fighting against Komodo. So whether he, whatever the concept is, I don't know. I don't care. But that's why I say it will be fantastic for someone to redo this. Find those surgeons. Get the rights. Warriors of Virtue has potential, has money. I'll do it. Get me to do it. But let's go to the nitty gritty at the end. My fan chamber rating. Where does this go in my stamp of badassery? Personally, for me, it's a full-on stamp of badassery. Outside of, as I said, I don't know what it is, if it was all in his head or if it actually happened and then it just transported him back in time a little bit before he went into Tao. I don't know, but in the end, I don't care. The acting, you got your token little black friend. He is like epitome of 90s freaking bad token black friend acting. But everything else, over the top villainous acting from Komodo and all his henchmen and generals, the awesome animatronics from the Ruse, I don't care what anybody says, the really dope cinematography of the action scenes and the over the top final fight between the Ruse and Komodo. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. I quote this movie constantly till this day. The cheese factor, the rewatchability, I swear, once this movie was available on streaming services and its full original aspect ratio, and I watched it off of my projector, I had the biggest smile on my face. I loved it. It was as if I was back at the movie theater watching it for the first time, being amazed. Till this day, that movie will always put a big smile on my face. It's, for me, a full-on stamp of badassery. I give that fucking movie 4 stars. Fight me about it. I don't care. Warriors of Virtue, bona fide fan chamber movie, and an all-time classic. And it should be even a more cult classic. So let's boost up the freaking cult classic factor of this movie. Let's get a steel book out there from this movie from someone at Arrow or Shout Factory or all these other Umbrella, wherever. Someone, please give us a freaking physical 4K release of this movie with so many special features and interviews from the people now. I would love to watch this. I would love to own this instead of a Blu-ray I had to get from Germany. Warriors of Virtue may not be a great movie, but to me, it is a masterpiece. It's exactly the kind of movie they don't make anymore. It's weird, it's ambitious, sincere, and completely unafraid to put martial arts kangaroos on screen. And honestly, the world could use more movies like that. You know, if you think about it, it could be even a tokusatsu kind of show. You know, it just has that feel. Anything, it's just goes beyond imagination. You can have so much fun with this. And I don't know. I'm someone who wish this would have kept on going. And I would love to see just more people share my love for this movie. It's a timeless classic. And I can't wait to watch it again and again and again. Thank you for listening to the Fan Chamber podcast. And you can join the Fan Chamber on my Twitch stream at twitch.tv/Nastradamus, NAZTRADAMIX. And where I not only just hang out, play games, and such, but the staple is enter the Fan Chamber where I watch movies or TV shows with you and just have a great time together. So thank you once again for enjoying this first ever Enter the Fan Chamber podcast, and I hope I get to make more. You can support me and us at the twitch.tv/Nastradamus. Get merch off of mweforlife.com or support us on Patreon at patreon.com/mweforlife, where you get first dibs at listening to this podcast and hopefully others in the future. I'm Nastradamus, and this has been the Fan Chamber Podcast.